Om Saranam 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 Tejasvinavati Mastunave Ishapatai Om Shanti Shanti. For the one whose courage is, surrender is the path. For the one who doesn't have courage, logic, reason, analysis is the path. So, two paths. One is the path of surrender. Another is the path of logic, reason, analysis. The path of surrender belongs to one who has the courage to surrender. And very few people have the courage to surrender. So for them, what is the path? The path of logic, reason, analysis becomes the path to them. Difficult is the path of surrender because you cannot have an ego and surrender. Extremely difficult is this path of surrender. And that which is the most difficult, people believe it is very easy. The path of logic, reason is very easy. Growth, what happened? There will be some problem in that path. And they believe the path of surrender is easy. The path of surrender is very difficult. Because to surrender, you need to drop your ego. There is no logical, scientific, reasonable way of dropping the ego. There is only one way to drop the ego, that is surrender. You can never drop the ego through logic and reason. Because logic and reason simply reinforces it. Therefore, the path of surrender is to those who have courage. Since we don't meet such people at all in life, we always talk about logic and reason as the path. Why we talk about logic and reason as the path is because we don't meet people in life who has the courage to surrender. Surrender is to drop the ego. Surrender means you drop the ego. Very difficult is to drop the ego. Because ego will ask, what is the benefit I get if I drop the ego? If I drop my ego, what will happen, sir? Who's asking that question? The very ego itself asks the question. Therefore, the path of surrender is very difficult because the ego survives. Ego means to accept someone as an authority. So devotion means, surrender means to accept someone as an authority. Ego means, I am the authority. Sunil, good. Good, Sunil. So, ego means, I am the authority. Surrender means, the other is the authority. Authority means a conviction that's why path of surrender is very difficult. Ego will not allow this to happen. Surrender means whatsoever is happening is for good only. That is surrender. Surrender doesn't worry about what is right, what is wrong. Is it right, wrong, good, bad? That analysis doesn't come for surrender. It is the ego that does this analysis. Guru Purnima connection. I have to connect all this to Guru Purnima also. How to connect God only? We will connect somehow, Sunil. At the end of the day, at the end of the session, we will connect also. How it is. So very difficult is to surrender. Because in surrender, we have to accept someone as an authority. Authority means, that's why I said it's very difficult in the beginning itself. Because authority means the logic and reason will come and say, authority. How can we accept this person as an authority? Why? Because something in that person is not. Something in that person is not acceptable. Something in that person doesn't suit me. Since something in that person doesn't suit me or non-acceptable to me, how can I accept that person as an authority? Surrender says it has got nothing to do with the other. Surrender means, are you able to bend your ego and say someone is an authority? That's all. It has got nothing to do with the quality of the. That's why surrender will never ask to whom. Surrender will never ask the question, to whom should I surrender? Are you able to follow? Ego always asks this question. The ego asks this question, to whom should I surrender? Is that person worthy of my surrender? These questions are all asked by the ego. Again, I repeat. Ego asks this question, is that person worthy of my surrender? So it means the ego first has to assess. The ego has to assess entrance test, isn't it? So all the entrance tests all the entrance tests will be kept. And once the guru passes the test, correct. Now the guru has passed the test. Therefore, this person becomes the guru now. Yeah. For everyday test. Yeah, one test to pass panna okay va? Every day there will be a test. And every day the guru has to pass the test of the disciple. Are you able to follow? Who will keep the test? Disciple will keep the test. Who has to pass the test? The guru has to pass the test. Another path of surrender doesn't work out at all. It doesn't work out, because when I say it doesn't work out, means it's so it's very, very difficult to let the ego surrender. Always remember this question. Is ignorance the problem or ego the problem? Ego is the problem. Is ignorance the problem or ego the problem? In one class, we'll say ignorance is the problem. In this class, we'll say ego is the problem. We don't know whether half the two clearly say what is the real problem. Ego is the real problem. Ego is the real problem. You follow? An occasion where you surrender, where you let go of the ego. Have you ever observed surrendering to a photograph is always very easy? Surrendering to an idol is very easy. Surrendering to a photograph is very easy. Why? Because the photograph is not going to turn back and say anything. Whatever you want to do, you can do, and tell yourself that you are following the Guru. Yeah. That's why we are always comfortable with the photograph of a person. We are always comfortable with the photograph of the person. Even the parents, we will be comfortable with the photograph of the parent, not when the parent is alive. Have you ever seen that? See, when the man is alive, nobody will be even ready to give a glass of water for that person. The moment the fellow dies, garlands will come. Yeah. In this culture, Asaji, they pour milk. When the fellow is alive, they will not give him a glass of water. When the fellow is dead, milk will be poured. Why? Because when the person is alive, it's irritating to the ego. When somebody is alive, it's very irritating to the, very unpleasant and very irritating to the ego. Same fellow died. Because from the photograph, he's not going to ask anything, no, isn't it? You put a garland on his death anniversary, 1 week later it is dried up. The photograph will not say it's poking me, take it out. Correct? Huh? You put a photograph on the photograph, you put a garland on the photograph. 1 week, it's all dried up. Huh? You can see that, no? Most of the houses you can, it's all dried up. ஒரு 2 நிமிஷம் போட்டதா பண்ணா கழட்டி வச்சிட்டாரு. I told that man, wear it for tunes, poking. Very uncomfortable. Photo போட்டா அது வாட்ல இருக்கும். Why? Because it is not saying, it doesn't say anything in. Able to follow? So what is ego the problem or ignorance the problem? For your growth, it is ego the problem. Is ego the problem? Ego is made up of your conditionings. Ego is made up of your likes and dislikes. What is ego made up of? What is the substance with which your ego is made up of? Your ego is made up of your conditionings. Your ego is made up of your likes and dislikes. I like this, I don't like this, is one aspect of ego. The other aspect of ego is the conditionings. Right, wrong, good, bad. Dropping the ego means dropping these two. Again, are you able to follow? See, dropping the ego means dropping the two is dropping the ego. You can't drop these two and keep the ego alive. Both doesn't go together. Therefore, what is the real problem? Ego is the problem. To deal with ignorance is very easy. It is impossible to deal with ego. Since you cannot deal with the ego by yourself, you have to go on surrender. Since it is very difficult to deal with the ego by yourself, you surrender. Surrender always asks this question. I am repeating again. To whom is that person worthy of my surrender? A living human being can never cater to your likes and dislikes or conditionings all the time. That's why it is difficult to surrender. Are you able to follow? Again, a living person can never cater to your likes and dislikes and your conditionings all the time. Therefore, what happens? It's very difficult to it's very difficult to surrender, because in order to surrender, conditionings has to be dropped. Conditionings has to be dropped. Are you okay till now? In order to drop the ego, in order to drop the likes and dislikes and conditioning, you need somebody from outside to say it's detrimental, let go of it. It's detrimental, let go of it. Whoever says your conditioning is detrimental to you, your likes and dislikes is detrimental to you, that person becomes the guru. Actually, if you observe, who do we take as the guru? Most of the time, we take someone as a guru who pampers our ego. Whoever pampers your ego will be accepted as the guru. Very difficult is to surrender to the follow what I'm saying. The one who has let go of the ego, the one who has dropped the ego and known how wonderful it is to live without an ego, how relaxed it is to live without ego, how wonderful it is to live life without ego. So used to carrying the burden, only if there is a burden you feel comfortable. Because we are so used to carrying burden all the time. Since so used to carrying burden all the time, the comfort is always from some burden. If your burden irundha, we feel not comfortable. Not. Even though everybody says, I want to be free from burden, take away all the burden, they will feel, suddenly they will feel so restless. Why? Some burden is, why? So that's the ego. Because the ego feels meaningful only when there is a burden. ஒரு burden இருக்கணும், அதை எப்படி தூக்கின்னு இருக்கிறேன்னு காட்டணும் எல்லாருக்கும். Anshu, I'll say it in English also. Don't worry. There was a request which I rejected, huh? Anshu. There was a request. Non-Tamil speaking people should not be part of the group. Yeah, I said what to do now. Even ma. Huh? The very ego finds it difficult to let go of the burden, though verbally everybody says, I want to be free. You follow? Though everybody says, I want to be free, I want to be free, I want to be free, ego is comfortable only when there is a burden. Ego is comfortable only when there is a burden. How to be free carrying a burden? That is not possible. You can't be free carrying a burden. You can't be free with the burden. Are you able to follow? Ego and likes and dislikes. Ego means likes and dislikes. Ego means conditioning. Ego means burden. There has to be a burden. You can use other word. You can say duty, obligation, responsibility, etc. But deep inside, something of that kind is necessary. Then only I feel, then only my existence is meaningful. Otherwise, last thing, the ego is attention upon itself. Attention upon oneself. So, put all the four together. Attention upon oneself is ego. There has to be some burden always. Some burden will do. Because then only you can talk about your glories. Yeah. If you don't have any burden, how can you talk about your own glories? Because your glory is always connected to the burden. Heavier the burden, much more greater you are. Supposing if you are carrying the entire burden of the entire planet, how great it will be. Are you able to follow? Why this ignorance? Why this ego is there? We don't know, but it is. It is there. So attention upon self, burden, next in this place, condition. These four put together is called ego. So yeah, these four put together is called ego. So dropping the ego means dropping this. Dropping this. Gautam Buddha gives a beautiful story. What is human being? He says, human being means constantly running. Human being means constantly running. Something should be attracting in the front or something must be chasing from behind. Able to follow? A human being has to constantly keep running. For that running, two things. What is it? Something in the front. Something in the front is attracting, running. Or something is chasing from the behind, running. Gautam Buddha brings a very peculiar situation. Beautiful situation he brings in. There is the diamond mine in the front and there is the lion chasing you from the back. Look at that situation. There is the diamond mine in the front. So attractive, you run towards that. Yeah, one diamond kacha kuda porum. Curious. One poruma. One poram. எனக்கு நிறைய வரும். I can't be satisfied with. So there is the diamond mine that is attracting in the front, and then there is the lion that is chasing from the back. All human priorities in the rendathile edhu first priority? Of these two, what will become your priority? Sunil. Escape from the lion first. Yeah, escape from the lion first, and then I can go to the mind. This is the human. Okay, you escape from the lion. Contentment, satisfaction will not come because the diamond mine is still there. So you have to go towards the diamond mine. You have to go towards you have to run something that is attracting you from the front or something that is chasing you. The human being so caught up in this running, where will the human being have time for any purposeful life? Where will the time come? Eliminate the line and permanent residency in the diamond mine. Eliminate the line and get a permanent residency in the diamond mine. Will the running stop? Able to follow? Ram Tirtha gives another example. He talks about a person sitting in the compartment train with the luggage on his head. A person sitting in the train with the luggage on his head. So that person is a very wise person. Huh? The person sitting in the train with the luggage on his head is a very wise person. Wise person always looks foolish. Foolish person looks very wise. It's the drama of. So the person said, remove the luggage. Why are you asking me to remove the luggage? The train is carrying you and the thing. Remove it. No. Man said, I am only demonstrating what you are doing. I am sitting with the luggage on my head to demonstrate what you are doing. What are you doing? This is what you are doing. Where there is the divine that is carrying everything anyway, you unnecessarily carry a burden on your head as though it's your burden. It shouldn't be a burden, it should be gratitude. Gratitude is not a burden. Difference, Purida? Everybody understand the difference? Narayana? Understand the difference? Gratitude will never be a burden. But we don't see it as gratitude. We see it as only difference is what? Offload one burden and pick up another. But we can never be free of. The moment suddenly you become free of all burden, say, sir, life is very empty, sir. You will say life is very empty and there is nothing to look forward to in the morning. Yeah. When you don't have a partner in life, having a partner in life, when you don't have a partner in life, having a partner is very relaxing, very. The moment you have the moment you have a partner, getting rid of the partner becomes. You don't have children. Having children is very important. The moment children comes, when will they grow, sir? When will they grow? Can any child grow in life? Nobody can grow. Everybody can age. Sunil, we all age. Growth happens very rarely. Growth happens very rarely. And that growth is the path of surrender. Growth happens through the path of surrender. What is the connection? Able to understand the connection. Very difficult is to let go of the ego. Because letting go of the ego means I'm only thankful. Letting go of the ego means saying I am thankful. How long can you say thank you, thank you, thank you? Somebody did something good to you. How many times you can say thank you? One time, twice, thrice. How long can you say? If somebody has hurt you, somebody caused pain to you, how long you can talk about it? Correct. Perfect. Correct. Forever you can talk about it. Somebody has hurt you, you can talk about it forever you can talk. Somebody has done something good. Yes. The ego is the burden. The only way to offload the burden of the ego is to surrender. Surrender is an inner attitude you develop. Don't worry about to whom and what. Because in surrender, the whom, the what doesn't matter at all. Do you have the quality of surrender. Develop that. Guru Purnima is an occasion to remember what? Surrender. Correct. Guru Purnima is not an occasion to celebrate the Guru. Yeah. Advi ego da. To say I am celebrating the. If you have to celebrate the Guru, you can't have one unique day for 1 hour only. Yeah, celebrating the Guru is a 24/7 lifetime. Yeah, you can't say, wow, 1 day, sir. Yeah. Just as you can't remember mother on Mother's Day alone. You can't remember father on Father's Day alone. You can't remember Guru on Guru's Day. Yeah, Father's Day, Mother's Day, and then Guru's Day. Have the courage to surrender. Have the courage. Logic and reason want to tread the path carefully. Each and every step I want to be very careful. So logic and reason is a very careful path. Isavasya Upanishad says it's a winding path. Long winding path. For those who wants to be careful. For those who wants to be careful, long winding path. For those who is courageous, surrender becomes the surrender is an acceptance that someone other than you is flawless. Again, I repeat. Surrender means someone other than you is flawless. You can never point a single person like that. Including the so-called gurus also, you cannot point it. It means what? Surrender always remains a improbable thing. Are you able to follow? Surrender means to accept someone is flawless. That's beautiful. Aduvum nandru means whatsoever they do is good. Murdering, can that be good? Stealing, can that be good? Any act of yours that is not acceptable comes from your condition. So surrender is the courage to say, there is a person, there is a, just to throwing the possibility, don't even accept it, at least conceive the possibility that there can be a living person in front of your eyes that is flawless. Flawless. There can be a person who can. Teju, can you hear me? Yeah. Huh? Oh my God. The moment you conceive the possibility that there can be a flawless person in flesh and blood in front of you, you have known what surrender is. Guru Purnima. You should be able to consider the possibility that there can be a flawless person. In order to understand this, follow what I'm saying now. Follow what I'm saying. when you honor somebody, you can never honor anybody as a whole completely. When you dishonor somebody, you can never dishonor anybody as a whole completely. One aspect is always honored, one aspect is always dishonored. Are you able to follow this? When you give Nobel Prize to Einstein, is the Nobel Prize given because he's a wonderful husband, wonderful father, wonderful scientist? Nobel Prize given to him because of what? One part of him is honored. Similarly, when you dishonor somebody, supposing if you say, Mahatma Gandhi is great, you are only honoring one part of him, we are calling it as great. Immediately the person will say, oh, you don't know about his behavior with other things. This is the play of ego. Because ego can never accept anybody as flawless. Are you able to follow? That's why in this culture, we created stories about gods, great men, the real life also, where you will always find a flaw, a very fundamental flaw in their character, and we go and fall at their feet. Are you able to follow? We will create a story and we'll create a flaw in that person, and we'll go and fall at the feet of that person where there is a flaw. It means, what are you prostrating? What are you surrendering? Courage to accept both. Courage to accept. Are you able to follow? But your ego will not have the courage to accept. Your ego will never have the courage to accept both. Why it will not have the courage to accept both? Because it always says, except me, nobody can be flawless. Rama has a flaw. Yeah. Understand this. Assuming that the original Rama had a flaw, those who edited the stories later on, what they should have done? What they should have done? When they repeated the story, second time, third time, fourth time, what they should have done? Deleted those portions. Yeah, simply deleted those portions. They will not do that. Have you ever observed why? Surrender requires this conviction. That's why they keep it. It has got nothing to do with whether Rama is right or wrong. It is to do with, are you able to surrender? Are you able to follow the difference? Guru Purnima is on top. It is not whether Rama is right or Rama is wrong. That's a debate club discussion. Eternally, they'll be discussing whether he is right or wrong. The question is not whether Rama is right or wrong. The question is, are you able to surrender? So the theme of the ego is what? Except me, nobody can be flawless. As a mother, the lady will be perfect. As a mother-in-law, again perfect only. The perfect mother-in-law. Yeah. As a mother, she's perfect. As a mother-in-law, again perfect. Where problem is it? As a son, perfect. As a husband, God only knows. I'm very perfect. கண்டிப்பா அவரு கிடையாது இல்ல. கண்டிப்பா not Rajkumar, somebody else. Shubha is saying somebody has some husband. Definitely not Rajkumar. Sunil Rajkumar is sitting next to her. That's why. Yeah, they are sitting next to each other. So ego means to accept. What is that acceptance? I accept one person wholly. That is surrender. That acceptance is surrender. One person wholly. But we cannot. So deliberately what they did in this culture, they will always paint a hero with flaws. They will never paint a hero, flawless hero. Also, when they paint a villain, lot of virtues will be in the villain. Look at that. I always used to wonder why they did like that. The hero must be flawless and the villain must be full of flaws, isn't it? And when you hear a story that Rama killed Ravana and he got a dosha because of killing Ravana, what do you do? Are you able to follow? Rama killed Ravana. Rama is full of flawless. Okay. Ravana is full of flaw. And when that Rama kills Ravana, what happened to Rama? He got a dosha. Something so profound is there in this understanding. We are not discussing about Rama here. We are not discussing about Ravana here. As a listener, are you able to surrender? That's the point. Are you able to follow? The one who can surrender is always extraordinary. Very difficult is to very difficult. Because surrender means flawless. To call someone as flawless is recognizing and accepting your flaw. How is that possible? Are you able to follow? Amar. To recognize somebody as flawless is to recognize I have a flaw. Ego says, sir, what I am having is not a flaw, sir. It's natural. Why do you, when I am having it, it's not a flaw. When somebody else has it, that's enough to massacre the person. Bring it up again and again and again in the head and massacre. Are you able to follow? Carefully follow. Anyway, the other doesn't care at all. The other doesn't matter at all. For you, where the problem comes in is you bring that person up in the head. You bring that person up in the head again and again and again. And massacre. You follow? WhatsApp leather photo utrungo, Rajkumar. Somebody put something in WhatsApp, simply ignore. Ideally, get out of WhatsApp. Simply get out. Useless. WhatsApp, nothing is happening. Ideally, simply get out of WhatsApp. Now, that's forward hours. Yeah. When forward comes, your ego gets very affected. Now you have to, because you are the dharmic person, no, Shankar. So you have to separate the adharma now. Yeah. Some adharma, somebody says something adharma that comes to you in forward. Now what becomes your obligation? Now, correct. You have to prove that is wrong. You will write something, and the other fellow will write 10 things more, and you will not know how to answer that. Because that fellow will say, Unga story la irukkuda illaya, he will ask. Is it there not in your story? What will you say? What will you say? You have to say yes. You have to say yes, it's there in the story. And we ensure that nobody edits it. We ensure that nobody edits it. It should be given as it is. In Bhagavad Gita, there are verses, no? Yeah. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a verse. Even women can attain liberation. The verse irukkuda illaya? That's all, it's there. Now you can interpret it in whatever you want. That is your, but is it there or not? If you are given a choice, what will you do? If you are given a choice, what will you do? All the controversial verses will be removed, sir. What all is creating controversy, remove it. Bhagavad Gita irukadu. Because starting point of Bhagavad Gita itself is a controversy. What is a controversy? Ego is the problem, not ego is the problem, not ignorance. Starting point a controversy. Where will you go after that? Are you able to follow? So what they did there, they kept it deliberately, they kept. Why? Because if you have to develop surrender, if you have to develop knowledge and understanding and surrender, what should happen to you? It has got nothing to do with the other. It has got nothing to do with the Are you okay till now? That is called a Sishya. That person is called as a Sishya. Who is a Sishya? Who is a Sishya? A Sishya is one who can understand this. A Sishya is one who is willing to let go of the ego. You can keep your ego and get rid of your ignorance. Because to get rid of your ignorance, you need only a few lectures, few books. Few books you read, few lectures you hear, you will be free of your ignorance. Because you can say, I also know. In fact, sir, with my Shailesh, sir, with my corporate experience, I can actually present it better than you. Correct? Huh? You think like that, Shailesh? Better don't think. Because you can keep your ego intact and still you can gain freedom from ignorance. Still you can gain. But the reality is what? It is not freedom from ignorance. It is freedom from ego. So the decisive moment of ego dropping is always surrender. Again, I repeat, the decisive moment of your life that tells you whether you evolve or devolve. That decisive moment is always defined by your surrender. Isavasya Upanishad, 16th mantra. Pushanne karshe yamasurya rajapatya yuha rashmin samuda ejo yatte rupam kalyanatamam tatte pashyami yosavasau purusha sohamasmi. That decisive moment, whether to let go of the ego or not, happened because of surrender. The decisive moment, always in life, you have those decisive moments. It's not about moksha only. Life puts you in a situation in complete darkness, not knowing not knowing what to do. What saved you in those moments? What saved you in those moments? It is surrender that saved you. If your decisive, vulnerable moments are saved by surrender, right through, what will save you? Therefore, what a Shishya does? Simply surrenders. It's a plunge. Surrender is a plunge you take. Surrender is the plunge you take. Ego always says, check the ground and then plunge. Ego always says, before you jump, carpeted floor, it's all safe. Now I will jump. Other logic. Are you able to understand the difference? Raj. Logic always says, yeah, I'm also ready to plunge, but first I will check the grounds. If I jump, what will happen? Nothing. Then I will jump. Surrender says, surrender means simply is a jump. A jump. Prahlada drank poison. Nothing happened. Prahlada drank poison. Nothing happened. He was pushed from the cliff. Nothing happened. So the father asked Prahlada, the father of the Hiranyakashipu, the Asura, asked Prahlada, what is happening? What is happening? He says, I don't know. He gave a beautiful answer. He didn't say, God is saving me also. Ego irunda God is saving me answer varum. Vedanta class la attend panni textbook answer. Yeah, Vedanta class la attend panni textbook answer. What is the textbook answer? God saved. Narayana saved. Prahlada said, I don't know. Surrender means that. Drink poison. It will not. You follow? Surrender means to let go of the ego. Surrender means to let go of the ego. You can let go of it only when you understand that is the only problem you have in life. The only trouble in life is your ego. The moment you realize that, you will let go of it. But the human being will be ready to let go of everything, but not the ego. The human being will be ready to let go of the wealth, let go of the family, let go of everything, but not ego. Vedanta comes and says, keep all that, because in effect, they don't do anything, they don't hurt you at all. The wealth is not hurting you, the family is not hurting you, your profession is not hurting you, nothing around you is hurting you except your own ego. So if at all you want to let go of something, what you should let go? Ego. The ego will ask, if I let go of this, what will happen to me? The answer is, I don't answer. What will happen to me? I will be taken care of. Now you missed the point. Are you able to follow? Sunil, what will happen to you? I know there is a divinity that shapes our ends. Take care. Vedanta I have studied, sir. Law of karma, protect me. You have missed the point completely. Plunge. Not knowing what's going to happen. You can never know what's going to. And you are completely at peace with it. And you are completely at peace with it. For you don't have the problem. Sishya is one who is willing to plunge, risk. What is that person willing to risk? Dropping the ego. Follow. A person will be willing to risk everything else and find and keep the ego through that. That is why you can even be a egoistic sannyasi. Huh? You can be because the ego has found its survival through sannyasa now. The charioteer asked Buddha. Appo he wasn't a Buddha. He was Gautama the prince. The charioteer told Buddha, you are committing the biggest blunder of your life. All of us are jealous about you. All of us are jealous about you. Yeah. See, parliament na enna artham? One prime minister and 365 jealous people about that prime minister. Correct? That's parliament. One guy becomes a prime minister. All the other guys are wanting that, but they couldn't. Epada carpet pull panlan, they are waiting when to pull the. So the ego can survive through renunciation itself. If you say renounce the ego, and the ego can turn back and say, nobody has renounced the way that I have done. People say that, no? Saying a family la na vittu kudukra madri yarume vittu kudukka mattendraanga sir. Vittu kudukuradhuna sacrificing. Unsure. Actually, you are a real problem. It's a real problem. Every word I have to translate. In my family, sir, nobody is as sacrificial. Because, sir, you come and see the people at my home. Can you ever be sacrificial to this father of mine? Can you ever be sacrificial to this mother of mine? To this wife of mine? Children, yeah, my children, no. Therefore, children don't talk about them, sir. But children are all very different. Because it's extension of my hand only. Extension of my hand only. Extension of my hand and always holding nothing, isn't it? Can't. How can I let go? How can I ask somebody to cut my hand? Impossible. So the ego can find a way to survive. With the last example, we conclude. You have seen the picture of Jesus Christ dinner. It's called the Last Supper. It's called the Last Supper. Jesus Christ is having Last Supper because he didn't know it was his last dinner. Yeah, he didn't know. He thought he was only having the supper and he got caught, and next day he was crucified and all. So they were having the Last Supper. All the disciples were around him. Yeah. Disciples na sutti vandale bayama dhaan irukku. Yeah. Who's going to do what next? God only knows. Jesus Christ was sitting. And you know the discussion they were having, the disciples? The discussion they were having amongst them, and they wanted Jesus Christ to say. You know what was the discussion? Who is the best disciple? Tell us who is the best. Competition there. Ego has gained in there. Even in disciplehood, you can want to be the best disciple. So Peter said, declare now Peter said, declare now that I am the best. Declare now. What did Christ say? Before the cock crows, before the cock crows, you will deny me thrice. You will deny me thrice. Peter held on to the feet and said, no, how can you talk about me like that? How can you misunderstand me like this? What kind of a master are you? You don't know? You don't know me. Declare. The guards came. They asked, who is the Messiah here? Who is saying Caesar's? Caesar. What the Shishya should have done? What the Shishya should have done? Should have gotten up and said me. Correct? 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 Somebody should have gotten up and said it's me, no? The group Shishya Parampara training la irundha adu varum. Only if you know this training and if you have the value to all that, it will come. Otherwise, you are more interested in protecting yourself first. So, everybody looked at this man. Obvious. Who? So they caught him. And then they asked him, is there anybody here who's his follower? Is there anybody here who claims to be his follower? Everybody put the head down. Somebody said, somebody pointed to Peter and said, I have seen this man hanging around him all the time. Yeah. Don't take one person along with you. So one person, one place you take. Alpana. That's how we are. We learned. Jesus Christ taught us all these lessons. So, I have seen this man going, hanging around with him all the time. So they asked him, do you know him? He said, instinctively, he said, I don't know. He smiled. Who smiled? Jesus smiled. Looking at him, he smiled. He was taken to the court. Clear? Court along kadayadu. Adu enadhu kangaroo court. Court along kadayadu anga. Judgment is already given and then only argument starts. Judgment is given already. What? Put the fellow to cross. Judgment is given. Oh, how can a king be without a crown? So they placed a crown. A king cannot be without a crown. Therefore, they placed a crown of thorns. Then they asked, is there anybody here who's this man's follower? Again, somebody pointed out to Peter and said, I have seen this man with you. Again, he said, no, I don't know who he is. Third, he has to carry his cross. Up the hill, he has to carry his cross up the hill. He was exhausted, tired. He has to carry his own cross. And thank God he was allowed to carry his own cross. Yeah. Actually, it's a very good thing because even before he goes there, he will be dead. No. Somebody carries the cross and take him now, what will happen? I thought they are very compassionate. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? They are so compassionate that they made him to carry his own cross. They're carrying his cross. He was sleeping. Is there anybody who knows this man? Last and final. Is there anybody here who knows? Again, somebody pointed out to Peter and said, now Peter said, I don't know. I don't know who he is. The cock crew. And Jesus smiled. Everybody came to see whether he has magical powers to come out of the cross. And when they saw him dying on the cross like any ordinary human being, they all declared he's not the Messiah. Because they thought Messiah means what will happen? Yeah. Telugu movie mari nanchitaanga. Only in the Telugu movie it will happen, isn't it? Put him on the cross and that flow will bouncing back and all happens there only, isn't it? Have you ever seen those Telugu movie fight? How they keep bouncing back. God only knows how they can bounce back, isn't it? They thought Jesus Christ will bounce back like that. And he died on the cross like any ordinary human being. They declared he cannot be the savior. To recognize the master, you need surrender. There was only one lady standing and crying for that man. There were actually two ladies. They both had the same name. One is Mother the Mary, second name is Mary the Magdalene. Only two were standing and crying for. And you know who saw the resurrection? Peter didn't see. Who saw the resurrection? Mary Magdalene saw. Mary Magdalene saw. Surrender. Rest Allah are preachers. Rest are all preachers. Who surrendered? Mary Magdalene. She came and said, Master has come back. You know what they asked? Peter asked. Kaiya check panniya, he asked. Kai check panniya enna artham? Have you checked his hand? Do you see the nailed? No. It's all there in the Bible. I don't know how many times I would have read these episodes in Bible. The nail marks. They saw the nail marks in the hand. This is Jesus, and we are about to look him, he vanished. He disappeared. Nobody saw him. Are you able to follow? Ego is that which can surrender. Ego is that which can? Ego is that which should be dropped to surrender. And when we say this, ego will say, nobody can surrender like me. Yeah. The ego knows how to. In order to bend this ego, in order to melt this ego, you accept someone as flawless. When you accept someone as flawless, and that person becomes the guru, and surrendering to the guru melts your ego. Melts your ego. To that, you say thank you to the guru. To that, you say thank you. Clear? Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhuscha pita tvameva, tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. The Pratyaksha God is the Guru. Without Guru, there is no God. Because there can't be a God without a Guru. That's why he's called dispeller of darkness. Dark. The Guru comes and removes it. To that, the Shishya remains. Because the Guru has the capacity to perform the greatest miracle. What is the greatest miracle? To inspire one person to drop the ego. The greatest miracle that a human being can perform in life is to inspire, convince somebody to drop their ego. And the Guru does it. to that extraordinary thing that the Guru does, we say, thank you. And Guru Purnima is a symbolic day of that. Guru Purnima is a symbolic day. Therefore, what do we do on this day? We pay our respects and gratitude to the entire parampara, to the entire Guru parampara. Guru Purnima. Take the plunge and drop the ego. You have kept your ego intact for so long. Nothing has happened. Try it once. How to be? Try once. How to be without it? You have been with ego all along. What has happened? Nothing has happened. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani, tatare shayanam, iha samsare, bahudustare, kripaya pare, pahi murare. Keeping the ego intact alive, nothing has happened. Again and again and again. But sir, in Vedanta, we have discussed blind faith we should not have, no? But sir, in Vedanta, we have discussed blind faith we should not have, no? Correct. We should not have blind faith. Come through the long winding path. Come through the long winding path. Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Bhagavad Gita, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. The person who has Shraddha alone gains. What is Shraddha? Surrender. Surrender. Shraddha is nothing but surrender. Surrender means you do not know the consequences. That is surrender. Once you know the consequences, there is no surrender. Are you able to follow again? Surrender means you do not know the consequences. In case if I am stuck with the wrong guru, in case I am in the wrong place, wrong things, Shraddhavan labate jnanam. Because it is what is saving you is your Shraddha. And somebody can inspire you to have the Shraddha means take the plunge. Our irukumbode, take the plunge. What will happen? Nothing like the worst. What has already happened is the worst. Therefore, what will happen, sir? Suresh. Kannadi munna, you know. Yeah, you stand in front of the mirror, you will know what has happened. And nothing worse can follow. Therefore, surrender. Simply surrender. What will happen? Say? Say I don't know. It is the Shastram that is saying nothing will happen. What should you say? You should say I don't know. Because the truth is, you don't know. I also don't know. What will happen? God only knows. So therefore, simply surrender. What will happen? I don't know. Then you are a Shishya. Good.